The first-class cabin went quiet when Marcus Reed stopped beside seat 1A. A white woman was already sitting there. Her handbag rested on the empty console. A glass of champagne sat beside her. She had removed her shoes, reclined the seat, and settled in as if she had every right to be there. Marcus checked the number above the row, then looked down at his boarding pass. Seat 1A. "Excuse me," he said calmly. "You're sitting in my seat." The woman looked up slowly. Her eyes moved from Marcus's plain black coat to his worn leather bag, then back to his face. "There must be some mistake," she said. "This is first class." Marcus held out his boarding pass. "There is no mistake." She did not look at it. Instead, she turned toward the aisle and raised her hand. "Flight attendant?" Dana Whitmore, the senior flight attendant, appeared from the galley with a practiced smile.
The woman pointed toward Marcus as though he were an inconvenience that needed to be removed. "Could you help this man find where he is supposed to sit?" Dana looked at the woman first. She recognized Victoria Hale immediately. Victoria was a platinum status passenger who flew with the airline several times a month.
She complained often, tipped generously, and expected every employee to remember her name. Then Dana looked at Marcus. No designer suit, no expensive watch displayed on his wrist, no assistant standing behind him. Her smile disappeared. "Sir, are you sure you are in the correct cabin?" Marcus handed her the boarding pass. Dana glanced at it for less than a second. The seat number was clear, 1A. She could have checked the passenger manifest on the tablet in her hand. It would have taken only a few seconds. She did not. "We may need to place you in another seat," Dana said. "We are trying to close the cabin door." Marcus remained still. "Why would I be moved from a confirmed seat?" Victoria gave a small laugh. "It is only a seat," she said. "I am sure there is somewhere else available." Marcus looked at her. "You have a seat." Victoria's expression hardened. "I prefer this one." Dana stepped closer to Marcus and lowered her voice. "Sir, we can move you to economy and discuss compensation after landing." Several passengers were now watching. One of them quietly raised a phone and began recording. Marcus noticed. He also noticed Dana's name badge. "Dana Whitmore, he committed it to memory." "Have you checked the manifest?" Marcus asked. Dana tightened her grip on the tablet. "That will not be necessary. You are asking me to surrender a confirmed first-class seat without checking the manifest? I am asking you to cooperate." Marcus glanced toward Victoria. She had already turned toward the window and lifted her champagne, confident that the matter had been settled. Then Marcus looked back at Dana.
Before you make that decision, I suggest you verify my name.
Dana exhaled sharply. "Your name does not change the situation."
For the first time, Marcus almost smiled. The woman sitting in his seat had no idea who he was. Neither did the flight attendant standing in front of him. They saw a quiet black man traveling alone in simple clothes. They saw someone they believed could be pushed aside.
What they did not see was the man whose signature appeared on the airline's ownership documents. The man who chaired its board. The man who had approved the purchase of the aircraft they were standing inside. Marcus Reed was not simply a first-class passenger. He owned the airline. But he did not say it. Not yet. For months, complaints had reached his office from black passengers who said they had been questioned, downgraded, ignored, or treated as if they did not belong in premium cabins. Most of the reports ended the same way. The employee claimed there had been a misunderstanding. The passenger had no proof.
Marcus had decided to see the truth for himself. No security team, no executive assistant, no announcement to the crew, just one ticket under his own name and one seat in first class. Now, before the aircraft had even left the gate, he had found exactly what he came to investigate. Dana raised her radio.
"If you refuse to move, I will have security escort you from the aircraft." Marcus did not raise his voice. He did not step back. He simply looked at the radio in her hand. "Then make sure they bring the passenger manifest." Dana pressed the call button. Victoria smiled into her glass. The cabin door remained open as airport security started walking down the jet bridge. Marcus could have ended the argument with one sentence. Instead, he decided to see how far they would go. 3 hours earlier, Marcus Reed had arrived at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport without the usual signs of power around him. No executive car waited at the curb. No assistant carried his luggage. No security officer cleared a path through the terminal. He wore a dark coat over a simple gray shirt and carried one weathered leather bag. To everyone passing him, he looked like an ordinary business traveler heading home after a long week.
That was exactly what he wanted. Marcus had spent the previous 6 months reviewing reports from passengers who claimed they had been treated differently because of their race, clothing, age, or perceived status. A black mother had been separated from her young son Despite holding confirmed seats beside him,
An elderly couple had been questioned 3 times before being allowed into the premium lounge. A corporate attorney had been asked to prove that his first-class ticket was real, while other passengers walked past without being stopped. Each complaint had been reviewed. Each employee had offered an explanation.
A misunderstanding, a system error, a difficult passenger, a rushed boarding process. The words changed, but the pattern did not. The passengers described humiliation. The reports described inconvenience. Marcus wanted to know which version was true. He could have announced a company-wide audit.
He could have sent investigators wearing corporate badges and carrying clipboards, but employees behaved differently when they knew executives were watching. So Marcus booked a seat under his own name, no title, no special service request, no notice to the airport team. Only 3 people at headquarters knew he would be on the flight: the board's legal advisor, the director of operations, and Emily Park, Marcus's executive chief of staff, who had objected the moment she heard the plan. "You own the airline," she had reminded him. "You do not need to prove anything by traveling alone."
Marcus had looked down at the stack of passenger complaints on his desk. "That is exactly why I need to travel alone." He did not want the service reserved for the owner. He wanted the service given to a man the crew believed had no power at all. His journey began at the premium check-in counter.
The agent greeted him politely, but looked at his boarding pass twice. Then she looked at his clothes. Then at the first-class line behind him. "Are you checking in for yourself?" she asked. Marcus answered yes. The agent scanned the ticket again before printing his baggage receipt. There was nothing openly hostile in her voice.
Nothing severe enough to report, but Marcus noticed the hesitation. He noticed everything. At security, he was pulled aside for an additional bag inspection, while 2 passengers behind him moved forward without delay. The officer remained professional, and Marcus cooperated without complaint. He recorded the time in a small notebook after collecting his belongings. At the premium lounge, the receptionist studied his membership status before allowing him inside. "First-class access is limited to international passengers," she explained. "I am flying to London."
She looked at the boarding pass again. Only then did she move aside. Marcus thanked her and entered. The lounge was filled with quiet conversations, polished shoes, expensive watches, and people who moved through luxury as though it belonged to them. Marcus chose a seat near the window.
From there, he watched employees greet passengers. Some received smiles before showing their credentials. Others were asked for proof before receiving a greeting. The difference was subtle, but subtle did not mean harmless. Marcus opened his notebook. He wrote down times, names, and exact phrases.
He did not make accusations. He collected patterns. His flight, Horizon Crown 218, was scheduled to depart for London at 8:40 p.m. The aircraft was one of the newest in the fleet, a wide-body jet purchased during Marcus's first year as controlling owner. He remembered signing the final acquisition papers.
He remembered walking through the empty cabin before the company logo had been painted onto the tail. At the time, the aircraft had represented growth. Tonight, it represented something else. A test. At 7:55, boarding began. The gate agent announced pre-boarding, followed by first-class passengers and elite members. Marcus joined the priority line. A white businessman stepped into the queue behind him, glanced at Marcus, then looked toward the economy line as though expecting him to move there. Marcus stayed where he was. When he reached the scanner, the gate agent studied his boarding pass. "First class?" she asked. Marcus looked at the seat number printed in large letters. Seat 1A. The scanner flashed green. The agent forced a quick smile and handed the pass back. "Enjoy your flight." Marcus walked through the jet bridge. The aircraft door was open, and warm cabin lighting spilled across the entrance. A young flight attendant named Emily Carter stood beside the galley, greeting passengers. Her smile did not change when Marcus approached. "Good evening, Mr. Reed. Welcome aboard." It was the first time that day someone had addressed him by name without sounding surprised by the ticket in his hand.
"Thank you," Marcus said. Emily glanced at the boarding pass. "Seat 1A is directly ahead on your left." Marcus noticed the precision of her tone. No hesitation, no unnecessary questions. He also noticed the senior flight attendant standing behind her. Dana Whitmore was reviewing the passenger list on a tablet.
She barely looked up when Marcus passed. Marcus placed his bag in the overhead compartment and settled into seat 1A. The leather was cool beneath his hand. The window overlooked the lights of the terminal, where baggage carts moved between aircraft. For several minutes, nothing unusual happened.
A flight attendant offered him water. Passengers entered the cabin. Suitcases clicked into overhead bins. Then Marcus's phone vibrated. A message from Emily Park appeared on the screen.
The operations director has been instructed not to contact the crew unless you request intervention.
Marcus replied with 2 words.
Understood. Continue. He placed the phone face down. That was when Victoria Hale boarded. She entered the cabin wearing a cream-colored designer coat and dark sunglasses, even though the sun had already set. Dana's entire expression changed when she saw her. Ms. Hale, Dana said warmly. Welcome back.
Victoria removed her sunglasses. I hope this flight is better than the last one. My seat was too close to the galley.
I remember,
Dana said. We will take care of you. Victoria's assigned seat was 4C. She walked past it without stopping. Then she saw seat 1A, the window seat, the extra privacy.
the greater distance from the galley, and Marcus sitting in it. Her gaze paused on him for a moment. She said nothing. Marcus watched her whisper to Dana near the front galley. Dana looked toward seat 1A, then at Marcus, then back at Victoria. A minute later, Dana approached with a carefully controlled smile.
Mr. Reed, would you mind stepping into the aisle for a moment? We need to complete a quick cabin check. Marcus studied her face. There was no cabin check. But he stood anyway. The moment he moved into the aisle, Victoria slid into seat 1A. She placed her handbag on the console and handed her coat to Dana.
Marcus looked from Victoria to the senior flight attendant. I believe that is my seat. Dana avoided his eyes. Ms. Hale has requested a minor accommodation. She has an assigned seat. We are still arranging the cabin. Marcus glanced toward 4C. The seat was empty. Nothing needed to be arranged. He could already see the decision forming. Dana expected him to accept it quietly. Victoria expected the crew to protect her preference. Neither of them believed he had the influence to challenge them. Marcus returned to the aisle and waited. He wanted to give Dana the opportunity to correct herself. Instead, she brought Victoria a glass of champagne. That was the moment Marcus understood the situation had moved beyond carelessness. It had become a choice. By the time the final group of passengers entered the aircraft, Victoria had reclined the seat, removed her shoes, and settled beneath a blanket. Dana had made no effort to return her to 4C.
Marcus stood several feet away, watching the crew prepare to close the cabin door. Then he checked the boarding pass in his hand one final time. Seat 1A. He walked forward, and the test truly began. Marcus stood in the aisle with his boarding pass still in his hand. Seat 1A was printed clearly beneath his name. Across from him, Victoria rested against the leather seat as Dana placed a fresh glass of champagne on her console. Neither woman looked concerned. They expected Marcus to move. He did not. Marcus Reed had spent years watching people make decisions when they believed no one powerful was paying attention. That was why he had boarded the flight alone. No assistant, no executive announcement, no crew notification, only a confirmed ticket and a simple question. Would the airline follow its own rules when the passenger asking for fairness appeared to have no influence? Dana was already giving him the answer. Marcus studied her movements. She had seen his boarding pass. She had a tablet containing the passenger manifest. She knew Victoria had been assigned seat 4C, yet she continued serving the woman sitting in 1A. This was no longer a misunderstanding, it was a choice. A few feet away, Emily Carter checked the manifest again. Her eyes moved from the screen to Marcus, then toward Dana. Dana, she said quietly, can I speak with you? Dana kept her attention on Victoria. Finish the cabin check. It's about seat 1A. Dana turned sharply. Not now, Emily. Emily hesitated, but Marcus had already seen enough.
The younger attendant knew the truth, and Dana did not want her to say it aloud. Marcus looked toward Victoria. Your assigned seat is 4C. Victoria slowly turned her head. My status allows the crew to accommodate me. Not by taking another passenger's seat. Her smile disappeared.
Dana stepped between them.
Mr. Reed, you have been offered another seat. We need you to cooperate so we can depart.
Marcus looked at the tablet in her hand.
You have not offered me an equivalent seat. You have asked me to surrender the seat I purchased.
We can discuss compensation after landing.
There is nothing to compensate if you follow the manifest. Several passengers were now watching. One man across the aisle raised his phone slightly higher. Dana noticed the camera. Her voice became louder. Continuing to challenge the crew may be treated as refusal to follow instructions.
Marcus recognized the tactic immediately. A passenger questioned an unfair decision. The crew labeled the question disruptive. Then disruption became a safety issue. Once that happened, security could be called and the original violation would disappear behind an incident report. Marcus remained calm.
I am not refusing an instruction, he said. I am asking you to verify who owns seat 1A. I am the senior flight attendant. That does not change the manifest. Dana's jaw tightened. Victoria gave an impatient sigh. Why are we still discussing this? Put him somewhere else. Marcus looked directly at her. You knew this was not your seat when you sat down. Victoria glanced toward Dana instead of answering. That silence told the cabin everything. Marcus turned back to the senior attendant. Ask Ms. Carter what the system shows. Dana followed his gaze. Emily stood near the galley, holding the tablet against her chest. Emily, Dana said, continue your duties. Marcus did not look away. What does the manifest show? Emily swallowed. For a moment, no one moved. Then she lowered the tablet and answered. Seat 1A is confirmed under Mr. Marcus Reed. The first-class cabin fell silent. Victoria stopped holding her glass.
Dana's face lost some of its confidence. The seat belonged to Marcus, the crew knew it, the passengers knew it. There was no confusion left to resolve. Dana could have ended the incident with a single sentence. She could have asked Victoria to return to 4C. Instead, she lifted her radio.
Security assistance required in first class. Emily stared at her. Marcus did not. He simply folded his boarding pass and placed it inside his coat. Dana had just been given the truth, and she had chosen to punish the person who exposed it. The security officer reached the aircraft less than 2 minutes later. His name was Daniel Brooks. He stepped into the first-class cabin with one hand resting near his radio, then looked from Dana to Marcus. What's the situation? Dana answered before anyone else could speak. This passenger is refusing to follow crew instructions and is delaying departure.
Marcus said nothing. Daniel looked at him. Marcus stood beside the aisle with his hands visible. His voice had never risen. He was not blocking the door, touching anyone, or threatening the crew. Then Daniel looked at Victoria. She was still sitting in seat 1A. Is that your assigned seat? He asked.
Victoria lifted her chin. The crew moved me here, Dana quickly added. It was an operational adjustment. Emily lowered her eyes. Daniel noticed. What seat was she originally assigned? Dana hesitated. 4C. And his seat? No one answered. Daniel turned toward Marcus. May I see your boarding pass? Marcus handed it to him. Daniel read the name and seat number. Marcus Reed, 1A. He handed it back. Do you have the passenger manifest? Dana's expression hardened. This is a crew matter. I need him removed so we can close the door. Daniel did not move. I asked for the manifest.
Dana stared at him for a moment, then held out the tablet. Daniel checked the screen. Marcus Reed, 1A. Victoria Hale, 4C. There had been no authorized seat change. He looked at Dana. The system shows this seat belongs to Mr. Reed. He was offered another seat. That is not what I asked.
Victoria leaned forward. I am a platinum passenger. This has already taken too long. Daniel looked at her. Your status does not change the seat assignment. For the first time, Victoria seemed uncertain. Dana stepped closer to Daniel and lowered her voice. The captain wants the cabin secured. Remove him, and we can resolve the paperwork later. Marcus heard every word.
So the paperwork comes after the removal?
He asked. Dana turned toward him. You were told not to interfere.
I am asking the officer to record the order correctly.
Daniel looked between them.
What order?
Marcus kept his eyes on Dana. That I am being removed from my confirmed seat because another passenger prefers it. That is not what is happening, Dana said. Then state the reason. Dana opened her mouth, but no answer came. Several passengers were still recording. The businessman across the aisle spoke up.
He has been calm the entire time. She took his seat. Another passenger nodded. The younger attendant confirmed it. Dana's face tightened. This is not a public discussion. It became public when you called security, Marcus said. Emily stood near the galley, holding the tablet.
Dana turned toward her. Go prepare the rear cabin. Emily did not move. Dana, the record shows you viewed the seat assignment before security was called. The silence that followed was immediate. Dana stared at her. What did you say? The system logs every time the manifest is opened.
Emily looked at Daniel. She checked seat 1A before asking Mr. Reed to move. Daniel's expression changed. This was no longer a disagreement over a seat. It was evidence. Dana stepped toward Emily. You are out of line.
No, Marcus said. She is telling the truth.
Dana turned back to him.
Her voice dropped. You have no authority over my crew. Marcus held her gaze. Not yet, as far as you know. The words unsettled her. Daniel studied Marcus more carefully. There was something in his tone that did not match the situation Dana had described. No panic, no anger, only control. Before Daniel could speak, the captain appeared at the cockpit door. Captain Richard Cole was broad-shouldered, silver-haired, and visibly irritated. What is delaying my flight? Dana answered quickly. A disruptive passenger is refusing to move. Captain Cole looked at Marcus, then at the boarding pass in his hand.
Then at Victoria sitting in 1A. Sir, he said, you need to leave the aircraft. Marcus did not move. On what basis?
Failure to follow crew instructions.
The instruction was to surrender my confirmed seat to another passenger. The captain glanced at Dana. She gave him a small nod. That was enough for him. This aircraft will not depart with you on board.
Daniel remained still.
Captain, the manifest confirms seat 1A belongs to him.
Cole barely looked at the screen.
I am responsible for this aircraft. Remove him.
Marcus reached into his coat.
Dana stepped back.
Daniel's hand moved toward his radio.
Marcus slowly removed a black leather card holder and held it at his side. He did not open it. Not yet. Instead, he looked at Captain Cole. Before you make that order official, I suggest you call operations. Cole gave a short, dismissive laugh. I do not need permission from operations to remove a passenger.
Marcus nodded once. Then put that in the report. The captain's expression hardened. Escort him off. Daniel did not touch Marcus. He reached for his radio instead. I want operations to confirm before I remove a passenger from a seat that belongs to him. Dana's confidence began to crack.
Victoria looked toward the open cabin door. Emily watched Marcus's hand around the card holder. She had seen the internal designation beside his name on the manifest. She still did not know exactly who he was, but she knew Dana and the captain were making a mistake, a serious one. Then the cabin phone rang. Dana froze. Emily looked toward the galley. No one moved to answer it. The phone rang again. Marcus looked at Dana. You should take that. Dana picked up the cabin phone. First class galley. Her expression changed before the caller finished speaking. The irritation disappeared first.
Then the color left her face. Yes, sir, she said quietly. Captain Cole watched her. Who is it? Dana did not answer. She kept listening, her fingers tightening around the receiver. Across the cabin, Marcus remained still. Victoria looked from Dana to the captain. What is going on? Dana swallowed. The voice on the phone belonged to Thomas Bennett, Horizon Crown's Director of Operations. He was calling from the airline's command center. Is Marcus Reed still on board? He asked. Dana looked directly at Marcus. Yes. And is he being removed from seat 1A? Her eyes dropped toward the floor.
There has been a seating dispute. Thomas's voice hardened. There is no seating dispute. Seat 1A is assigned to Mr. Reed. Dana glanced at Captain Cole. The captain made the removal decision. Cole stepped closer and held out his hand. Give me the phone. Dana passed it to him. This is Captain Cole.
Thomas did not waste time. Captain, why did you order security to remove the owner of this airline from his confirmed seat? Cole's face went still. For several seconds, he said nothing. Victoria's hand tightened around her champagne glass. The passengers nearest the aisle leaned forward. Cole looked at Marcus again. This time, he studied him carefully. The plain coat, the calm expression, the black card holder still resting in his hand. Owner? Cole repeated. Marcus opened the card holder. Inside was a corporate identification card bearing his photograph, name, and title. Marcus Reed. Chief Executive Officer, controlling owner. He held it where Daniel, Dana, and the captain could see it. No one spoke. Emily covered her mouth. She had seen the executive designation in the system, but not the full title. Dana stared at the card as if it had changed the air inside the cabin. Victoria slowly placed her glass on the console. Marcus closed the card holder. My name did not change the situation, he said. Dana remembered her own words. Her face tightened. Marcus turned to Captain Cole. You ordered my removal without checking the manifest. Cole lowered the phone. I was acting on information provided by my senior attendant.
You were told the seat belonged to me.
Daniel nodded. I confirmed it before the removal order. Cole looked toward Dana. She immediately defended herself. Mr. Reed was refusing to cooperate. Marcus faced her. I asked you to return my seat. You were delaying the flight. You called security after the manifest proved I was correct. Dana opened her mouth, but Emily spoke first. She also viewed the seat assignment before she asked him to move. Dana turned sharply. Emily, the system log will show it, Emily said. Marcus looked at the young attendant. Thank you for telling the truth. That single sentence carried more weight than anything Dana had said all evening. Victoria rose halfway from seat 1A. Well, now that this misunderstanding has been cleared up, I can return to my original seat. Marcus looked at her. This was not a misunderstanding. Victoria froze. You knowingly took a seat assigned to someone else, he continued. Then you encouraged the crew to remove that passenger when he objected. I did not know who you were. Marcus held her gaze. That is the problem. The cabin went silent again. Victoria looked around and noticed the phones recording her. Her confidence disappeared. I am a loyal customer, she said. You were a customer with seat 4C. She stood fully and reached for her handbag. Dana stepped aside as Victoria moved into the aisle. Marcus did not sit down.
The reveal had returned the truth to the cabin. It had not yet delivered the consequence. He turned to Daniel. "Officer, please remain here." Then he looked at Dana and Captain Cole. "No one closes this cabin door." Cole's expression hardened. "Mr. Reed, we can address this after landing." No, Marcus's voice remained quiet, but now everyone understood why he had never needed to raise it. This aircraft will not leave the gate until the incident report, manifest records, and cabin footage are secured. Dana looked toward the open door. "You are grounding the flight?"
I am preventing evidence from disappearing. He turned toward Emily. "Please preserve the manifest access log and write down exactly what you witnessed." Emily nodded. "Yes, Mr. Reed." Marcus looked back at Dana. "Hand your badge to the supervisor when she arrives." Dana stared at him. "Are you suspending me?"
Pending investigation. Captain Cole stepped forward. "You cannot remove a senior crew member minutes before departure without affecting the entire flight." Marcus met his eyes. "You were willing to remove a confirmed passenger without checking the facts." Cole stopped. Marcus continued. "The difference is that my decision is supported by evidence." At that moment, 2 airline supervisors appeared at the cabin door. Behind them stood a replacement cabin manager. Dana's remaining confidence vanished. The lead supervisor entered and addressed Marcus. "Mr. Reed, operations has secured the records."
The replacement crew is ready. Marcus nodded toward Dana. "Escort her off the aircraft." Dana looked around the cabin. Passengers who had watched her threaten Marcus now watched her remove her badge. Her hands trembled as she unclipped it. The supervisor took it from her. Captain Cole looked toward the cockpit. Marcus stopped him before he could move. "Captain, you will remain at the gate until operations completes its review of your removal order." Cole stared at him. "You are replacing me too?" "That depends on what the records show." Victoria stood beside seat 4C, clutching her handbag. She tried to sit down quietly. Daniel stepped into the aisle. "Ms. Hale, please collect the rest of your belongings." Her head snapped up. "What? You are being removed from the flight." I returned the seat, after refusing to leave it and supporting a false removal request. Victoria looked toward Marcus. "You cannot do this because I did not recognize you," Marcus answered without hesitation. "You are not being removed because you failed to recognize me." He pointed toward the boarding pass still visible in her hand. "You are being removed because you knew the seat was not yours."
Daniel escorted her toward the aircraft door. The same passengers she had expected to admire her now watched in silence. Dana followed behind her without a badge. Marcus remained standing beside seat 1A. Only after both women disappeared into the jet bridge did he look around the cabin.
"The rules did not change because of who I am," he said. "They are being enforced because they should have applied from the beginning." Then he returned to his seat. But Flight 218 was still not cleared for departure. The replacement crew entered while operations secured the manifest, cabin footage, and Dana's incident report.
The report described Marcus as aggressive and non-compliant. Several passengers immediately objected. "He never raised his voice," the man across the aisle said. 2 others confirmed they had recorded the entire confrontation. Marcus asked them to send the original videos directly to the investigation team.
Minutes later, the operations manager returned with the initial findings. Dana had opened the manifest before calling security. She knew seat 1A belonged to Marcus. Captain Cole had also been told the seat assignment was valid before ordering Marcus off the aircraft. Cole stood near the cockpit door.
"I relied on my senior attendant," he said. "You heard security confirm the truth," Marcus replied. "And you still chose removal." Cole looked toward the operations manager. "Am I flying this aircraft?" "No," the manager answered. "A replacement captain was already waiting at the cabin door." Cole's credentials were collected, and he was escorted off the plane pending investigation. The replacement captain entered and ordered the crew to verify every seat against the official manifest. Within minutes, 2 other unauthorized seat changes were discovered and corrected. The problem had been larger than seat 1A.
Crew members had been changing assignments to satisfy influential passengers without proper documentation. Emily approached Marcus after completing the final check. "I should have spoken sooner," she said. "You spoke when the truth became difficult," Marcus replied. "That matters."
He assured her that she would not be punished for challenging Dana. Instead, she would give a formal statement and help investigators reconstruct what happened. The replacement captain then addressed the passengers over the intercom.
"Every passenger has now been returned to the seat listed on the official manifest. We apologize for the delay. There was no false explanation. No attempt to blame Marcus. 27 minutes late, the cabin door finally closed. Marcus looked out at the terminal lights as the aircraft pushed away from the gate. The seat had been returned. The responsible crew members had been removed.
But the investigation into Horizon Crown Airlines had only just begun. By the time Flight 218 landed in London, the investigation team had already reviewed the manifest logs, passenger videos, and Daniel's body camera footage.
The evidence was clear. Dana had known seat 1A belonged to Marcus before she called security.
She had then written a false report describing him as aggressive. Captain Cole had been shown the correct seat assignment and still ordered Marcus removed. Both were suspended pending a formal hearing. Victoria Hale's platinum status was also frozen while the airline reviewed her conduct and previous complaints involving crew members.
But Marcus did not stop with 3 people. The 2 unauthorized seat changes discovered before departure suggested a deeper problem. He ordered a review of every first-class seating complaint filed during the previous 12 months. The results were worse than expected. Several passengers had been pressured to surrender confirmed seats for wealthier or higher status customers. Some had received compensation, others had been labeled difficult when they refused. Most cases had been closed as misunderstandings. Marcus called an emergency meeting with the airline's executive board.
On the main screen, he displayed the footage from Flight 218. Dana's voice filled the room. "Your name does not change the situation." Then the video showed security confirming Marcus owned seat 1A. No executive tried to defend her. Marcus paused the recording.
"This did not happen because the crew failed to recognize me," he said. "It happened because they believed the passenger in front of them had no power." He ordered 3 immediate changes. No confirmed seat could be reassigned without the passenger's consent and a digital record.
Any removal request involving a seat dispute required verification from a supervisor outside the cabin. And every discrimination complaint would now be reviewed alongside manifest data, camera footage, and witness statements. Dana was dismissed after investigators proved she had knowingly filed a false report. Captain Cole lost his command position for ignoring verified information and abusing his removal authority. Victoria's elite membership was permanently revoked. Marcus also ordered the airline to contact every passenger affected by the earlier complaints. Their cases would be reopened, their records would be corrected, and those who had been wrongly removed or downgraded would receive direct apologies from the company. For years, the system had protected itself by calling each incident an isolated mistake. Flight 218 made that excuse impossible. The woman who stole seat 1A had been removed.
The employees who supported her had lost their authority, but Marcus knew punishment alone would not repair the airline. Someone who had chosen truth over fear still deserved to be recognized. 3 days after Flight 218 landed, Emily Carter received an email asking her to report to Marcus Reed's office.
She expected another interview with the investigation team. Instead, Marcus was waiting with the final incident report on his desk. "Please sit down," he said. Emily took the chair across from him. She still looked nervous. "I know I should have challenged Dana sooner," she said. "I saw the seat assignment, but I hesitated."
Marcus opened the report. "You verified the manifest. You tried to warn your supervisor. You refused to support a false statement, and you preserved the system records." He turned the document toward her. "You acted when telling the truth could have cost you your job." Emily looked at the report but said nothing. Marcus explained that the investigation had confirmed every part of her statement. Dana had knowingly ignored the manifest. Captain Cole had ordered Marcus removed after security confirmed the seat belonged to him. Emily had been the only crew member who continued to follow procedure after the situation escalated.
"You will not be disciplined," Marcus said. Emily released a breath she had been holding. "Thank you. That is not why I called you here." Marcus placed a second document on the desk. It was an offer to join Horizon Crown's new cabin standards and passenger protection team. The role would allow Emily to help train crews, review misconduct reports, and improve the way the airline handled seat disputes and removal requests. Emily stared at the page. "You are promoting me? I am giving responsibility to someone who proved she understands what it means." She looked up. "I am still one of the youngest attendants in the company."
That did not stop you from recognizing the truth. Marcus then showed her the policies that would take effect across the airline. No confirmed seat could be reassigned without the passenger's consent, and a digital record explaining the change. Before security could remove anyone over a seat dispute, a supervisor outside the cabin had to verify the boarding pass and manifest. Crew members who reported misconduct could now contact the compliance team directly, even when the person involved was their senior officer.
Any report describing a passenger as aggressive or non-compliant had to be supported by witness statements, body camera footage, cabin video, or another documented source. Emily read each section carefully. These rules would have stopped what happened before security was called. "That is the point," Marcus said. "A fair system should not depend on the victim being powerful enough to defend himself." He asked Emily to help build the first training session. The program would use a reconstructed version of the incident on Flight 218, but Marcus gave her one clear instruction: Do not teach employees how to recognize executives.
Emily looked at him. Then what should we teach them? Teach them to respect the boarding pass before judging the person holding it. Over the following weeks, the airline reopened previous complaints involving forced seat changes, wrongful removals, and passengers who had been described as disruptive after questioning unfair treatment.
Several reports were corrected. Wrongly downgraded passengers received refunds and formal apologies. Supervisors who had repeatedly ignored evidence were removed from passenger-facing positions. Emily led her first training session 1 month later. She stood before a room of senior attendants, gate agents, and cabin managers. On the screen behind her were 2 seat assignments. One belonged to a wealthy platinum passenger, the other belonged to a quietly dressed passenger with no visible status. Emily asked the room one question. Which passenger has the stronger right to the seat? Several employees studied the screen.
Then Emily gave them the answer. The one whose name is on the manifest. Months later, Marcus boarded another Horizon Crown flight without an assistant or executive announcement. He watched a passenger claim that his elite status entitled him to another traveler's window seat. The flight attendant did not argue.
She did not judge either passenger by appearance. She checked the manifest, returned the seat to its rightful holder, and recorded the incident before the cabin door closed. The entire matter ended in less than 2 minutes. No humiliation, no threats, no security. Marcus settled into seat 1A and looked out at the runway.
Victoria had believed status gave her the right to take what belonged to someone else. Dana had believed her uniform allowed her to ignore the truth. Captain Cole had believed authority protected him from accountability. They had all been wrong. The seat had been returned. The responsible people had faced consequences.
But the greatest victory was not that the owner of the airline had been respected. It was that the next passenger would not need to own the airline to receive the same respect. Real power was never proven by taking someone else's place. It was proven by protecting the rights of people who seemed powerless. The story of Flight 218 spread through Horizon Crown Airlines long before it reached the public. For some employees, it became a warning. For others, it became a standard. The lesson was not that Marcus Reed owned the airline. The lesson was that ownership should never have been necessary for his boarding pass to be respected.
The Victoria had looked at his clothes and decided he did not belong in first class. Dana had looked at his appearance and decided a wealthy passenger's preference mattered more than his confirmed seat. Captain Cole had looked at his position and assumed authority allowed him to ignore verified facts.
Each of them had been given an opportunity to correct the mistake. Each chose to protect status instead of truth. That was why the consequences followed. Victoria lost the privileges she believed placed her above other passengers. Dana lost the badge she had used to enforce an unfair decision. Captain Cole lost command of the flight after using safety authority to defend a lie. Marcus did not punish them for failing to recognize the owner. He held them accountable for how they treated a passenger they believed had no power. Months later, the official report on Flight 218 was closed.
The rewritten policies remained in place. Crew members were required to verify evidence before accusing a passenger of non-compliance. Security could no longer be used to settle a seating dispute without an independent review. Employees who reported misconduct were protected from retaliation.
And every confirmed seat carried the same authority, whether the passenger holding it was a CEO, a teacher, a nurse, or someone taking their first flight. Marcus kept his original boarding pass from that night. It remained inside a frame in his office. Not because seat 1A was valuable. Not because it proved that he owned the airline. He kept it as a reminder of how easily dignity could be taken when people believed appearances mattered more than facts. One evening, Emily noticed the framed pass during a meeting. "You kept it," she said. Marcus looked at the name and seat number behind the glass.
I kept the evidence.
Of what?
He paused. That rules mean nothing unless they protect the person with the least power in the room. Emily nodded. Outside the office window, a Horizon Crown aircraft moved slowly toward the runway. Hundreds of passengers sat inside. Most would never meet Marcus.
Most would never know the owner's name, and that was how it should be. They should not need his title to be treated fairly. They should not need a powerful connection to keep the seat they paid for. They should not need cameras, witnesses, or public attention before someone listened. Respect should come before recognition.
Truth should come before status, and authority should protect people, not silence them. Victoria thought she had taken a better seat. What she really did was reveal the character of everyone who helped her keep it. And Marcus proved that real power does not announce itself loudly. It waits for the truth. Then it makes sure the truth cannot be removed. If you had been sitting in that first-class cabin, would you have spoken up for Marcus before learning who he was? And do you believe Dana and Captain Cole deserve to lose their positions? Share your answer in the comments. The lesson of Flight 218 was simple.
Marcus should never have needed to reveal that he owned the airline. His boarding pass was valid. His name was on the manifest. Seat 1A belonged to him. That should have been enough. Victoria judged him by his clothes. Dana protected status instead of truth. Captain Cole used authority before checking the facts.
All three believed Marcus could be pushed aside because he appeared powerless. They were wrong. But the real victory was not that a black CEO reclaimed his seat. It was that Horizon Crown changed its system so the next passenger would not need wealth, influence, or a powerful title to be treated fairly.
A seat belongs to the person whose name is on the ticket. Respect belongs to everyone. And authority means nothing when it is used to protect injustice. So what would you have done if you were sitting in that first-class cabin? Would you have spoken up before learning who Marcus was?
And did Dana and Captain Cole deserve to lose their positions? Share your answer in the comments. Because the way we treat people before knowing their status reveals who we truly are. The aircraft lifted into the night, leaving the lights of the airport behind. Marcus sat quietly in seat 1A. The seat had been returned.
The false report had been exposed. The people who abused their authority had been removed, but Marcus knew the most important result would not be written in an investigation file. It would appear the next time an employee faced a passenger who looked ordinary, dressed simply, or seemed unable to fight back. Would they check the facts?
Would they follow the rules? Would they offer the same respect before learning the passenger's title? That was the real test. Marcus looked down at the boarding pass still resting in his hand. His name had been there from the beginning. The truth had never been hidden. People had simply chosen not to see it.
Victoria believed her status entitled her to someone else's seat. Dana believed her uniform allowed her to ignore the manifest. Captain Cole believed his authority made his decision unquestionable. They were all given the truth, and they all chose to reject it. Marcus did not win because he was richer than them.
He won because the evidence was clear. The seat was legally his, and their actions could no longer be hidden. The incident became a permanent lesson inside Horizon Crown Airlines. A passenger should never need to reveal wealth, influence, or ownership to be treated with dignity. A valid ticket should be enough. The truth should be enough.
And respect should never depend on discovering that the person being humiliated has the power to punish you, because real character is revealed before the title is known. And real justice begins when the rules protect everyone equally. Several months later, Marcus boarded another Horizon Crown flight without announcing his arrival.
Emily was now leading the cabin standards team, but she still joined selected flights to observe how the new policies worked in practice. During boarding, a platinum passenger took a window seat assigned to an elderly black woman. When the woman showed her boarding pass, the passenger refused to move. "I fly with this airline every week," he said. "She can sit somewhere else." The flight attendant did not argue or call security. She checked both boarding passes against the manifest. "Sir, your assigned seat is 3D, she said. "This seat belongs to Mrs. Johnson." The passenger tried to mention his status again. The attendant remained calm. "Your membership does not override another passenger's confirmed seat." He returned to 3D. Mrs. Johnson sat down without being questioned, threatened, or asked to accept compensation. The entire dispute ended in less than 2 minutes. Marcus watched from across the aisle.
No one knew who he was. No one needed to. Emily approached him after the cabin door closed. "The policy worked," she said quietly. Marcus looked toward Mrs. Johnson, who was fastening her seatbelt beside the window. "The people worked," he replied. "A policy only matters when someone chooses to follow it."
For the first time, the lesson from Flight 218 was no longer just written in reports or discussed in training rooms. It had protected a real passenger. Marcus settled into his seat as the aircraft began moving toward the runway. Victoria had taken his seat because she believed status mattered more than truth.
Dana had supported her because she believed Marcus was powerless. Captain Cole had tried to remove him because he trusted authority more than evidence. But their choices had forced the airline to confront a system that had failed more passengers than Marcus ever knew. Now that system was beginning to change.
Not because every passenger was secretly powerful, not because every victim owned the company, but because no one should need power to receive basic dignity. As the aircraft lifted into the sky, Marcus looked out of the window. The greatest proof of justice was not that he had reclaimed seat 1A.
It was that Mrs. Johnson had kept her seat without having to fight for it. Would you have defended Marcus before knowing he owned the airline?
And should airline employees lose their positions when they knowingly ignore the manifest and file a false report? Share your answer in the comments. 1 year after the incident on Flight 2118, Horizon Crown released the results of its passenger protection reforms. Wrongful seat removal complaints had fallen sharply. Every disputed reassignment now required a digital record, the passenger's consent, and verification from a supervisor outside the cabin. Security could no longer remove someone over a seating conflict until both boarding passes and the official manifest had been checked. The company also reopened dozens of older cases that had been dismissed as misunderstandings. Several passengers received refunds and written apologies. 2 supervisors were removed after investigators discovered that they had repeatedly protected elite customers at the expense of confirmed ticket holders. Other employees were retrained. Those who had reported misconduct honestly were protected from retaliation. Emily Carter now led the team responsible for reviewing serious cabin disputes. During a quarterly meeting, she presented the final report to Marcus and the board. "The biggest change is not the number of complaints," she said. "It is what employees do before a complaint becomes necessary." She displayed footage from recent flights. In one clip, a gate agent refused to let a wealthy passenger pressure an elderly couple into surrendering their seats. In another, a junior attendant challenged a senior crew member who attempted to move a black family without updating the manifest.
Both disputes ended without security, public humiliation, or delay. The rules had existed before Flight 218. The difference was that employees now understood they would be held accountable for ignoring them. Marcus closed the report.
This is what the company should have been doing from the beginning.
Later that afternoon, he walked through the headquarters lobby. A framed boarding pass from Flight 218 hung near the entrance to the training center. Marcus Reed, Seat 1A. Beneath it was a single sentence. "A passenger's rights do not become more important after you learn who they are."
New flight attendants stopped to read it before entering their first training session. Most of them did not know every detail of what had happened that night. They did not need to. They only needed to understand the choice that had started it.
Victoria had seen a man she believed held less status than she did, and taken what belonged to him. Dana had seen clear evidence, and chosen to protect privilege. Captain Cole had been given the truth, and used his authority to silence it. Marcus had given each of them a chance to correct the decision.
They refused. Their downfall did not begin when Marcus revealed that he owned the airline. It began when they decided an ordinary passenger's rights could be ignored. Marcus stood before the framed boarding pass for a moment. Then he continued toward the executive elevators.
He did not keep it as proof of his power. He kept it as proof that power should never have been necessary. 6 months later, Marcus invited Emily to lead Horizon Crown's annual cabin leadership conference. This time, she was not standing at the back of the room as a junior attendant.
She stood on the main stage before hundreds of pilots, cabin managers, gate supervisors, and security coordinators. Behind her, the screen displayed the passenger manifest from Flight 218. Marcus sat in the front row and listened as Emily explained the decision that had changed the airline. "The problem did not begin when security arrived," she said. "It began when the evidence was ignored." She showed the audience the original assignments. Marcus Reed, Seat 1A, Victoria Hale, Seat 4C. The correct answer was visible from the beginning, but status was given more value than the record. Emily then introduced the revised response procedure. When a seat dispute occurred, crew members had to check both boarding passes and the official manifest before taking action. If a senior employee ignored the evidence, any junior employee could contact operations directly. Security could only be called after the facts had been independently verified, and no employee could describe a passenger as aggressive without documented behavior supporting that claim. "These rules are not designed to protect important passengers," Emily said. "They are designed to make every passenger equally important." When the presentation ended, the room rose in applause. Marcus joined Emily near the stage. "You turned one difficult decision into something that will protect thousands of people," he said. Emily looked toward the manifest on the screen. "I only told the truth. That is often where change begins."
Later, Marcus visited the first-class training cabin used for new employees. A young attendant was practicing a seat dispute scenario. One passenger held elite status. The other held the confirmed ticket. The trainee checked the manifest and returned the seat to its rightful passenger without hesitation.
Marcus watched from the doorway. No one in the room recognized him. No one changed their behavior because the owner was present. That was the result he had wanted. Not employees who treated Marcus Reed correctly because they feared his title. Employees who treated every passenger correctly because the facts demanded it. He left the training center without interrupting the session. On the wall beside the exit,
was the sentence Emily had chosen for the new program. Respect the passenger before you recognize the power. Marcus paused to read it. Victoria had taken his seat because she believed privilege placed her above the rules.
Dana and Captain Cole had supported her because they believed Marcus could be removed without consequence. But the airline had finally learned the lesson hidden inside seat 1A. Justice was not proven when a powerful man reclaimed what belonged to him. Justice was proven when the next powerless passenger never had it taken away. That evening, Marcus returned to his office after the conference. The framed boarding pass from Flight 218 still rested on the shelf beside his desk. Seat 1A. A small piece of paper that had exposed a much larger failure. Marcus looked at it for a moment, then turned toward the window.
Below him, Horizon Crown aircraft moved across the runway, carrying thousands of passengers who would never know his name. That was the point. They should not need to know the owner. They should not need wealth, status, or influence to keep the seat they paid for. They should not need cameras to prove they were telling the truth.
And they should never have to reveal hidden power before being treated with dignity. Victoria had taken Marcus's seat because she believed privilege gave her the right to decide who belonged in first class. Dana had ignored the manifest because she believed Marcus could be pressured into silence.
Captain Cole had ordered him removed because he trusted rank more than evidence. None of them failed because they did not recognize a CEO. They failed because they believed an ordinary passenger's rights mattered less. Marcus picked up the boarding pass and placed it inside a drawer. The lesson no longer needed to remain on display.
It now lived in the airline's policies, its training rooms, and the choices employees made every day. Emily's team was protecting passengers before conflicts became public. Crew members were checking facts before making accusations. Junior employees were speaking up without fear of retaliation. The system had not become perfect, but it had learned to stop protecting unfair decisions simply because they came from someone with status. Marcus closed the drawer. Real power was not the ability to remove people from an aircraft. It was the responsibility to make sure authority was never used against the innocent.
Real leadership was not demanding special treatment. It was building a system where no one needed special treatment to receive justice. And real character was revealed long before anyone knew who owned the airline. If you had been sitting in that first-class cabin, would you have defended Marcus before learning his identity? Did Victoria deserve to lose her elite status? And were Dana and Captain Cole held properly accountable for ignoring the truth? Share your answer in the comments. Because a person's dignity should never depend on the title revealed after they have already been humiliated.